Kia ora koutou, Markie here with hopefully a quick video, but sometimes I like to go off on interesting little tangents and things like that, so I'm not going to 100% hand on heart promise you that. So yes, so before we get started on the topic of today's video, which is all about synchronicity, coincidences, strange, small worldliness, I suppose, as opposed to small-mindedness, and showbiz gossip, showbiz celebrity name dropping, stuff like that, anecdotes. I am on the cusp of getting to 1,000 subscribers as you watch this, as I record this. So I want to say thank you, because you are probably one of them if you're watching this, and if you're not, you can be. You can be maybe the person that gets me to 1,000 by clicking on the subscribe button. So to do that, you have to be signed up to YouTube, otherwise it won't work. And what you can do as well as clicking on the subscribe button is click on the little bell icon, and then you can be guaranteed to immediately see every video that I post. You'll be one of the first people to see it, and be like a VIP. So yes, so I've already given the game away really with the thumbnail. So I wasn't able to shoot the video in the location because the location was a record shop where I took that picture of that t-shirt hanging there, which happens to bear the name of the Subhumans. Is it the Subhumans or Subhumans? I think it might be just Subhumans. Now I'm living in New Zealand now. I used to live in the UK, and I grew up in Wiltshire, and I was still at school when I first became aware of the Subhumans from a friend who lent me a couple of his punk albums. Most of my friends I was sort of mainly identified with kind of heavy metal at that sort of stage, but I've always kind of seen punk as the same thing, really. I don't, and I've met punks that say they don't like heavy metal, and heavy metal fans that say they don't like punk, but which I've always found quite hard to understand because there's so much crossover and so much similarity between the two. So I like both, and a number of other things as well, including related things like kind of like goth and post-punk and other forms of rock, but also classical and folk. So becoming more wide in my tastes. So I first had a listen to the Subhumans. I would have been about sort of 14, 15, something like that. And I don't remember terribly well what I listened to, but I know there was a song on the album that had something to do with had the word subvert in it. I think it was Subvert City, which is interesting because it's kind of using the word subvert as a noun, whereas it's normally used as a verb, isn't it, to subvert something. So it's talking about subverts, and I remember, what I do remember is I had to look it up in the dictionary because I didn't know what a subvert was. It sounded a bit like a pervert. And there is a similarity etymologically between those two words. And the word divert, subvert, pervert, all kind of similar but different meanings. So anyway, without getting sidetracked completely into that particular tangent, I didn't really think too much of that. I didn't really come across Subhumans much after that. I was kind of aware of them. Then I became dimly aware that they were local, but I didn't know exactly where they were based. And then my social life started to revolve much more around the town of Warminster, which is, as I was living in Bath, but spending quite a lot of time in Warminster, and a lot of friends in Warminster. Warminster's an interesting little place. It became very famous for UFO sightings and for other kind of strange phenomena that were occurring, which could well have been something to do with the many military bases that are in the area, or could be something more sexy and cosmic and exciting. Who knows, really? Maybe one day we'll find out. There seems to be a lot of revelations about that kind of thing right now. But and on the subject of aliens and such like, I made the acquaintance of somebody who was a fellow fan of Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds album. Now, if you've not heard of Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds album, go out and listen to it immediately. This very second, okay? So it's a prog rock concept album. a double album as they were at the time. So a gatefold album with lots of fantastic artwork. So War of the Worlds, obviously H.G. Wells novel. H.G. Wells is one of the earliest science fiction writers. He had some, fantastic concepts and ideas. So it's a kind of your classic, what became the theme of every B movie, a Martian invasion. So there's a Martian invasion of late 19th century England. Although the invasion is the whole world. That's why it's called the War of the Worlds, because Mars is a world and Earth is a world. But it's set in England, and particularly kind of set in kind of Surrey, on the outskirts of London. So it's a fantastic piece of music, and I think it came out I think it was the 70s when it came out, and it has narration by some really heavyweight actors and some brilliant singers. So it's got Richard Burton as the main protagonist and narrator. So he's the reporter whom the novel is set around. And then you got Judy Covington, who sang "Don't Cry for Me, Argentina." So although she was never famous for that many other things, brilliant voice. Phil Lynott from Thin Lizzy. I love Thin Lizzy. Phil Lynott from Thin Lizzy's in it. And David Essex. So it's kind of quite a. And Justin Hayward from the Moody Blues. So wow, what a cast. So Justin Hayward singing, a lot of the cast singing and acting. Richard Burton doesn't sing. He just narrates in his wonderful way that he does. So and then there was a remake of it, kind of I'm not sure when, the 2000s and something, which has got kind of featured the kind of the stars of the day, and you probably think I'm going to diss it because if you like the original of something, often you don't like the remake. I think it's good. I like the kind of subtle variations in it. So it's kind of enjoyable. Because the weird thing about this album is I've listened to it again and again and again and again, but never tired of it. But it is quite nice to enjoy a version which is essentially the same, but with some groovy little changes and alterations and differences. And sometimes it's just things like different bass line or something like that, but it's something that really kind of keeps you on your toes as a listener. So I bumped in, like I say, friends with somebody that was a fellow fan of this, who said, casually, I'd like to put this on as a stage show, live music and actors and stuff. And thinking it probably would never happen, I said, count me in. Not that, I can do anything musically, but I used to do a little bit of acting at the time. So I said, put me down as the Richard Burton character, thinking nothing would ever come of it. And it did. It came to life. It was we did 3 nights, and it continued after that with other people, because by that time I'd actually moved to Devon, so it was much more tricky to kind of continue with it. But great time of my life, great people, great music, and we put it together, and I got a Victorian costume. I grew some mutton chops to really embody the part. But the guy that was playing the drums for us was a guy called Bruce Treasure. And Bruce Treasure played guitar in the Subhumans, so that was kind of interesting. So that was kind of quite nice for me because of that kind of connection. And then the Subhumans were never, as far as I'm aware, that well known. I didn't think they were that well known. I know they had a massive following, but my understanding was it was quite a cult following and quite a local following. Now, I may be wrong. I may be wrong on this. They may have been bigger in the kind of punk world than than I realised. But now I'm in New Zealand, I walk into local record shop and I see Subhumans t-shirt hanging there. It's like, wow, what a small world and what a wonderful coincidence. So I just thought I would share that with you. And if you want more of these rambles, I will see if I can put a playlist together of my kind of, because I've I dabbled a little bit in stage and screen, so I do have a few kind of showbiz anecdotes, which I've kind of put into YouTube videos, so check those out. But thank you for listening and watching, and thank you for all the help that you've given this channel, and we'll talk to you soon. Rangimarie.